fathers of two new sciences, David Gross, father of running coupling constant and quantum foam; Timothy V. Krier, father of pure gravitational resonant thinking in hierarchical cosmology and manifest destiny. We quote from Ronald Clark, 1971, Einstein, His Life and Times. In some ways he was embarking on a search for the physicist's Hesperades, a scientific suicide mission on which even an Einstein might fail. This is perhaps more certainly the view today. The time when this was written was 1970, and Ronald C. Clark goes on that then in 1970 it was, quote, generally felt that the structure of the universe cannot be described by a single set of equations. Yet even in the 1920s the prospects looked poor. Einstein himself knew this, and the explanation he gave late in life for devotion to this particular task was as relevant in 1929 as it was in 1949. Quote, he argued that the chance of success was very small. As he told a colleague, Professor Taub at Berkeley, but that the attempt must be made. He himself had established his name. His position was assured, and so he could afford to take the risk of failure. The young man with his way to make in the world could not afford to take a risk by which he might lose a great career, and so Einstein felt that in this matter he had a duty. End quote. The task to which Ronald Clark refers in 1970 is the unification of electric charge, the electromagnetic field, and gravitation. In fall of 1970 the treatise on the structure of the field 1969 through 1970 was completed, and there was no axiomatic necessity to introduce the field of electric charge in order to understand the state of motion in a static, symmetric pre-established state. Today, since 1974 through 1977 in Einsteinian hierarchical cosmology, the photon is the carrier of electric charge and the photon is the graviton. From Memoirs of a Child Prodigy, March 1, 2002, you see that at 3 years and 10 months old Timothy Victor Krier with a gravity toy determined experimentally that gravitation is a conservative field of force, and by fall 1950 would be trying to unify electromagnetism and gravitation. That inability to unify in fall 1950 caused Timothy to realize on the night of April 18, 1955 that gravitation was the only field globally present in the child's atomistic hierarchy. In April of 1974 the article Rasputin, Science and the Transmogrification of Destiny, April 1974, by John Archibald Wheeler in the International Journal of General Relativity and Gravitation was published. Professor Abraham Taub is a founding member of the journal, which was established by Professor John Archibald Wheeler of Princeton, where Professor Taub had formerly worked with Einstein. On May 17, 1974, Timothy V. Krier wrote Professor Taub and requested a letter of support for his Krier's work on field theory and gravitation, namely on the structure of the field 1970. Professor Taub wrote back immediately on June 3, 1974. He wrote back that Krier had given him treatise on field theory and that he had discussed with Krier's ideas on field theory. The only personal discussion which Professor Todd had with Krier was Krier's 8th grade theory of the 1 over r squared gravitational field. This description of the gravitational field distribution will be necessary in Film 1 for children, since Krier's theory of the 1 over r squared universal gravitational field is based on a principle of equivalence of field distribution over concentric equivalent shells surrounding the source particle. Professor Todd explained that the description was correct but that he had never thought about it in such simple visual terms. In this case, children in 3rd grade or sooner can visualize and judge the theory of 1 over r squared gravitational field themselves without further intervention of abstraction. Einstein would agree immediately, and Einstein will agree in the film for children with dialogue between Einstein and child prodigy. The families of the children leaving the motion picture theater will read out that their children then know much more about the universe than Einstein did throughout his life, and including the time of his death. Billions of children and their parents can rest assured of that, and that can be codified by America's National Institute for Theoretical Physics and the 75,000 hits per day which it receives. See grossfat kitt.ucsb.edu. There will be no quantum field theory, no messenger particles, no nutcake fields of force, no time distortions cuckoo ionics in the pure gravitational unified field structure of the child's atomistic hierarchy.